So let us begin by recalling the definition of a finite set and its cardinality. So a set A is called finite if A is empty. So this is our convention that empty sets are finite, and B if A is not empty, if A is not the empty set and there exists a bijection between A and the set of positive integers from 1 to n for some n in n. Okay. So let me reread it. So a set A is called finite either if it is empty or if it is not empty and there exists a bijection between the set and for some natural number n, that the bijection should be between the set and the set 1 to up to n. So in the first case, the cardinality of A is said to be 0, and in the second case the cardinality of A is said to be n. N is this number here. Now whenever we meet a definition, we should knock it from all sides to see whether it makes sense and whether there is no ambiguity in the definition. So in this case, in the definition that I just provided, there is a bit of ambiguity because the natural number n, the cardinality, it is not clear that it is entirely determined by the set A itself. So I can ask the following question. So given a non-empty set A, does there exist natural numbers n and m with m not equal to n, so two different natural numbers, such that there exist bijections f1 from A to the set 1 to up to n and f2 to the set 1 to up to m. Okay. So note that here it is n and here it is m. So it's not clear from the definition that this situation is precluded, and if this question has a positive answer, that indeed there exist two such bijections with different ranges, then our notion of cardinality will not make sense. So one should answer this question in the negative to be able to say that this definition is not meaningless, is not absurd. Okay. So for this we have the following theorem. So suppose A is a non-empty set and there exists a bijection f from A to 1 to up to n for some n a natural number. Suppose also that B is a proper subset of A, it's a proper subset of A, then there is so provided B is not empty, provided B is not empty, there exists a bijection G from B to 1 to up to m for some m strictly less than n, and there is no bijection let's call it H from B to 1 to up to n. So n here is this cardinality of the set A. That's how we define the cardinality of A. So this theorem says that if you take a proper subset of A, then its cardinality will be strictly less than m, which is m here. So the cardinality of B is given by m here, and this will be strictly less than the number n, the cardinality of A, and there is no bijection H between the proper subset B and the set 1 to up to n, where n is the cardinality of A. So this kind of results can be found in many books, so I will not prove it here. So let me just give the reference. So see Moncre's book on topology, chapter 1, section 6, where this is proved in detail. Now this theorem then has a few important consequences. So let us collect them in this corollary. So the first is that if A is a finite set, then there is no bijection of A with a proper subset of A, subset of itself. And secondly, and this answers our question about the well-posedness of the definition of cardinality, is that the cardinality of the set A is uniquely defined by A. And the second consequence, which answers our question about the well-posedness of the definition of cardinality of a finite set, is that the cardinality of a finite set is uniquely determined by A. So this answers our question in the negative, and it means that our definition is in fact well posed. So let's see the short proofs for one. So if A is a finite set, there exists a bijection f from A to some subset of the form 1 to n for some n. Now, if B is a proper subset of A, and G is a bijection, then I am going to produce a bijection H between B and 1, 2 up to n, and H is simply given by G F composed with G inverse. Okay. So, G inverse takes you from B to A, this is G inverse, and F takes you from A to 1 to up to n. So, our H given by F composed with G inverse is a bijection between B and 1 to up to n, which is a contradiction to the theorem. Okay. This is a contradiction to the theorem. Okay. So, this H, we note that this is a bijection because it is composed of two bijective functions, therefore, H itself is a bijection. So, we have arrived at a contradiction. For the second part, we have to show that if F1 1, 2 up to n is a bijection and F2 from 1, 2 up to some natural number m is also a bijection, then we have to arrive at a contradiction. So, let us see. So, this implies that the map F1, so let us suppose that without loss of generality, that m is less than n. Okay. Then F1 composed with F2 inverse, so this is a map from 1 to up to m to 1 2 up to n is a bijection, but since m is strictly less than n, we have arrived at a contradiction because this is a contradiction since 1 2 up to m is a proper subset of 1 2 up to n, and this follows from the first part of our corollary. Okay. Follows from part 1 above. Therefore, we have shown that the notion of cardinality of a finite set is well defined. Now, there are further easy corollaries. So, one is as follows. So, if you take finite unions of finite sets, are also finite sets. Okay. So, let us see a proof. So, let me just take two non-empty sets A, B, both are non-empty. Then I will prove that if A and B are finite, then A union B is finite. This is, we want to show this. Okay. Now, we have seen that any proper subset of a finite set is also finite. So, if we rewrite A union B as a disjoint union, by writing A delta B, this is the symmetric difference, union A intersection B. So now we have written A union B as a union of two disjoint sets. First one is the symmetric difference of A and B, and the second one is the intersection of A and B. So a quick Venn diagram will show that this is true. So this is A and B, and the symmetric difference is the part without the intersection, and the intersection is of course the overlap. So now we can assume that without loss of generality that A and B are disjoint. So it is enough to show that if A and B are disjoint, their union and they are finite sets, then their union is also a finite set. So now we again go back to our definition of finite set. So we are given there exists bijections Fa from A to 1 to n1 and Fb from B to 1 2 up to n2. n1 may be equal to n2, but we don't care at this point. Now we have to produce F A union B from A union B to, of course, the expected cardinality here is n1 plus n2, and this is the conservation, this is a type of conservation law, that the cardinality of the union of two disjoint sets is the sum of the cardinalities of the individual sets. So I want to produce a bijection between A union B and the set 1 2 up to n1 plus n2. So it's easy to construct this bijection F A union B. This is from A union B to 1 2 up to n1 plus n2. Okay. Let's see how it's defined. So A union B x. So if x belongs to A, I want to put it from 1 to n1. So this is just if A of x, and if x belongs to B, I want to put it from n1 plus 1 up to n2. So this means that it is n1 plus Fb x. So what we are doing here is you have A 1 2 up to n1 and B. So these are both bijections 1 2 up to n2. So our union of these two sets is if x belongs to A, we land in this set from 1 2 up to n1, because our bijection Fa is between A and 1 2 up to n1. But if we just take here for x belongs to B, if we just take here Fb rather than n1 plus Fb, then we will end up in the set 1 2 up to n2, and there will be overlaps in the range of this function F A union B, which is what we don't want. So I shift it by the value n1 so that it starts at n1 plus 1, n1 plus n1 plus 2, and so on up to n1 plus n2, and this is all we want. And it's an easy exercise. Show that F A union B is bijection, is a bijection. So we have shown that if you take two disjoint sets, the cardinality of the union is the sum of the cardinalities of the respective sets, and I want to write this in the following notation. So let me denote the cardinality of A, denote the cardinality of a finite set A, of a finite set A by the absolute value symbol or mod A. Then in notational form we have the following principle. So this is the principle of conservation, if you like, conservation of cardinality, which is that if A and B are disjoint sets, then the cardinality of the union of A and B is the sum of the cardinalities of A and B. Okay. So I want you to remember this principle. This will be a guiding principle for us when we talk about infinite sets and subsets of Rn. But for the moment we can also generalize this from two sets to any arbitrary number of sets. So a generalization one can easily prove by induction is that if A1, A2 up to An are disjoint sets, then the union A1, A2 up to An is the sum of the individual components. Okay. So we will refer to this principle as this, or rather this property, as finite additivity.